Hey everybody, if you're watching this video, it means that you are at IBTM and I am not. And I'm so absolutely heartbroken to not be there with you in person with a bunch of travel stuff that came up. But I'll tell you that it is cold here in London. It was 28 degrees Fahrenheit when I got up this morning. And I know that it's not quite as cold in Barcelona. So I envy you. I am sad I'm not there, but the show must go on. And so I am here coming to you virtually to share with what I hope is an actionable, insightful, energetic, engaging presentation where you can go and actually apply something and implement it into your life and business. So with that being said, I am so excited to talk about this topic because I think it's truly a blind spot, and it's really important right now because I think businesses are in trouble. I speak to thousands of business owners from all over the planet on a regular basis, many of them in a lot of our coaching programs and private communities. And I'm tasked with kind of having a pulse on what's going on in the world, not just the world of marketing, sales, leadership, finance, and wellness, but truly diving in across a full spectrum of businesses to see what is going on and why are so many businesses failing. And I'll tell you, 95% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And that's before you even throw on a pandemic or anything that we've experienced in the last 18 months. And I think that what we are realizing in the last 18 months, there's a lot of learnings because this is something that hasn't happened in my lifetime, in our lifetime. And it's something that we can start to see as a connection point for all of us globally. Like this has absolutely impacted everyone's life all over the world, unless you're on a small remote island somewhere that is untouchable, which totally is possible. But the majority of us have felt this in some way, shape, or form. What I will say is I think that there is a massive blind spot. And I think that blind spot for most businesses is actually engagement. And engagement for businesses is at an all-time low. And I'm not talking about awareness. I'm not talking about when people become aware of your brand, where they stop and they think about it and they go, oh, I'm going to look at that. Well, looking at something and engaging with it is completely two different things. I think engagement, that's everything after someone's attention is had, right? So if you get someone's attention, congratulations. What I want to talk about today is getting people to engage again, because the lack of engagement is really what is killing businesses. And if we're not paying attention to the thread, the real way of re-engaging people and the mishaps along the way and the potholes and the things we've been seeing that aren't working, then I think we're going to miss another opportunity, and we're going to come out of this pandemic and this post-pandemic war that we keep talking about. And I think we're not going to be able to truly engage with people again. And we're going to miss a lot of customers and consumers who we otherwise would have had if we just would do a few things differently. So that being said, I think that I've learned a lot. I've learned that people aren't really engaging because of a few reasons. Number one is that people are really distracted, like massively distracted on their phone. I mean, I literally walk down the street. If you're on public transit at all in any part of the world, you'll see that we are glued to our mobile devices. And not only are we glued to them, but we're inundated with 18 different pieces of content, 27 different applications, just seamlessly moving in and out of them, feeling like consuming and consuming and consuming. And so that distraction in the midst of what our current situation is, many of us being at home and many of us changing our entire world, how we work, how we interact, how we play, all of those things have been altered. And so I think that people are massively distracted, myself included. And I think that's really hard to not only get someone's attention, but to keep it long enough to get engagement. The second one is, I think most brands out there are missing the mark in terms of their messaging. I think it's massively tone deaf. I feel like it lacks a lot of empathy, which creates trust, which is massively important to brands, by the way. And I think that people are missing the opportunity to step into other people's realities and show that it's shared, that it's not some massively produced thing. That's my case in point. A lot of the advertisements I see globally, big brands, small brands, they're missing it because people's realities are this. They're sitting inside of their box. They're on Zoom call after Zoom call. Their world has changed. Yet we want to do this highly produced version of our brand, when in many cases people want the humanistic, real, relatable version of your brand. And I think that tone deaf messages actually create a lot of apathy for the consumer. And then in case in point, lack of engagement. The last one is just that exhaustion. Like I'm so exhausted. I know you are too. Not only the terrible sales messages we get on LinkedIn and it's just like all over the place, these terrible emails we get from prospecting, and that isn't even talking about the advertising that we get, which is totally unfair. For like the last 2 decades, the internet has been learning your behaviors, your likes, your dislikes, you reading your emails. It's not fair because that's how you're retargeted by ads. That's how you're continually to be followed by those ads. Like it has just become unbelievable to be bombarded by messaging and ads. And so a lot of people become apathetic because they just cut it off completely. And some of those ads might actually be timely and relevant and perfect fit for something that they would need in a product or service, but they are just done because they have just completely feel overwhelmed by the amount of things that are being sold to them on a daily basis. So that creates a lot of non-engagement. So how do you combat this as a brand? How do you combat this as a business that's trying to get people to engage, not only pay attention, but to engage? Because those are 2 parts of the customer journey that we're really focusing on here, is the awareness and the engagement, which I think people miss a lot because they usually go awareness to subscription, or they miss all of that and they go to awareness to convert, which is basically showing up being like, hey, my name's Marcus, let's go back to my place. And we know how that goes, right? Don't trust you, don't know you, stranger danger. So there are ways to actually build that trust and build the engagement and really fit those pieces into a really well-defined customer journey, which I'll show you later, that I feel like is going to help us not only with engagement, but truly push people along a really great plan, a path, a journey that allows them to insert themselves into that. Getting ahead of myself. Okay. So there is hope, right? I've seen it. I know that there's hope. We found a lot of really great things in our research and also in just over the last 18 months of working together, like we found it. So I really wanted to share that with you, our findings, and then also kind of tell you some things that we've learned. So I wanted to start with a baseline because we need to know what to kind of, what can we hang our hat on? What are the things that we can actually say are true, that even in a tumultuous time like we're experiencing, don't necessarily change. So in marketing, which I am fascinated with, and I've been, the head of sales, VPs of sales, I've been on the partnership side, I've been an entrepreneur, I've been a serial investor, I've been all those things, and I still come to marketing being the thing that I feel like is the biggest advantage we have in our businesses. And I think in terms of brand, we need to look at marketing in a very specific way. So what are the things that will never change about marketing? Well, it's the market, the message, and the media, right? That's the 3 things that marketing always will be. You can throw on digital, you can throw on all these different specific vehicles in marketing, but traditionally marketing is responsible for identifying the market, understanding the market, and then the crafting the message for that market, and then getting that message in front of the market to make sure that they take action. That has been marketing's true, like, top of funnel form for a long time, even though marketing is all the way down the funnel now, right? I would equate it to, when I got married almost 13 years ago, I didn't stop dating my wife after we got married. So marketing doesn't stop after the acquisition of a customer. Like, we need to market to our current customers to make sure that they grow and expand and retain, right? So there's marketing across the full funnel, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the engagement part of it. And I feel like if we're talking about that, the responsibilities are understanding the market, really dialing in an unbelievable message to that market, and then making sure that you know where those people are and how to get that message in front of them so they take action and engage. So I want to teach in those 3 ways today. I want to show you how what doesn't change and how you can adapt knowing what doesn't change in this brand aspect of your business and these marketing tactics that we've been using for a really long time now and getting unbelievable engagement from it. So let's start here. The things that don't change, which is really interesting because just like marketing doesn't change, there are things that I'm absolutely fascinated with. The things I'm absolutely fascinated with, and the best marketers and business owners on the planet all agree with, is that the things that also change and don't change are humans. Humans are wildly, unbelievably crazy, right? So we know a few things about this. One is that marketers are constantly like the best ones on the planet. They're less marketer, less business owner, and way more human behaviorist. So they study human behavior, just like I have. Like, my degree is in psychology. It's not in business. It's in psychology. 1,000%, especially in cognitive psychology and behavioral science. Like those things to me have been a big, huge, humongous advantage. That's very redundant, big, huge, humongous, but a massive advantage. What other words can you use for big? Massive, gargantuan. No. So they're great, but they've been an advantage for me because I can understand that I need a baseline. And in business and in marketing, a baseline is understanding human behavior. If you can understand human behavior and how it fits into this marketing and this brand piece I'm about to share with you, you will truly be able to address the market. You'll truly be able to craft an unbelievable message, an unbelievable story, and then you'll be able to know exactly how to get that in front of the right people to get them to re-engage and get them to take action. That's the best. So there's some things about humans that are really important that I continue to see over and over again as a marketer and as a business owner, is that we make rational decisions, myself included. I make decisions off of my gut. I make decisions off of how I feel. I don't make incredible decisions that take a lot of research. Sometimes I make intentional kind of decisions based off of my environment. And here's the thing, no matter how rational we are, we make decisions with feelings, and we need to make sure that we understand that. Humans are incredibly feeling people, and they make decisions with their heart and their gut way more than they do the research on it. And it's something to understand about human beings, right? So this is something that doesn't necessarily change about us throughout all of history. We love a good story. We love stories, oral, written, films, books. We love anything with a really good story. We've really broken that down into like 7 different stories. We've got the hero story, which is very popular. We've got people loving each other and falling out of love and getting back together. We've got all these different stories out there, but many of them are all kind of built off the same archetypes. And those stories are things that we can, benchmark our lives on. I mean, we have stories that change our lives. We have stories that we've personally written or we've been a part of that are absolutely inspirational or funny. Like we have the stories of our lives, right? And they make up a good chunk of it. And then we give and we take. We are a society of reciprocity. We tend to think that we're good people. We like to give to others, and that's why we open the door. And if somebody doesn't say thank you, we go, oh, you're welcome. It's because there's an inherent way that we look at others. And I think that's really, really important here because it helps us shape how we deal with humans, right? So in marketing, we also have looked at human behavior, and we have used it for ways to put consumers through different tactics based on their human behavior and what we know about it. And some of these are here. So priming, for example, is like putting an image up that preps people to be receptive to take an action. So if you put pictures up on a website, some of that, there's a lot of thought that goes into that because what people visually see will be things that prime them to make a decision. So if it's let's say a financial website where you want somebody to have financial consulting or you want to put them into a portfolio, there's going to be pictures of like money or people happy, and you're going to see things that are kind of leading and starting to prime people to want to make a purchasing decision or book a call. Reciprocity is exactly what I just mentioned. If somebody does for you, you want to do the same. Like you want them to do the same for you. And we take that into consideration in marketing because especially in messaging and a lot of what we do, to understand that when we give, people are wanting to receive. And that's actually really important when you're starting to position products or services, especially in any kind of hospitality. Social proof, super important. I use this all the time when I speak. I actually love to poll the audience. I think that's something that people miss, and maybe they do it naturally, but they don't actually know that it's actually social proof. Social proof is really when you're polling the audience, is actually the second time you ask the same question. And what I mean by that is if I raised my hand right now and I said, gosh, hasn't it just been so interesting to feel more connected but more apart in this pandemic? And I said, raise your hand. And I would say, all these people would raise their hands, the brave ones. And then there's about 30% of the whole room that probably agreed with that, but didn't raise their hand because they were kind of like, I'm not sure I want to raise my hand because I don't know if other people are going to raise their hand. And so then you ask the same question again, and then, you get more hands up. It's because other people were waiting for the permission from others to be able to join the conversation. So social proof is really great because people will adapt their beliefs based on what they see. So it's like when you sell something, or on your website, when you say, here's all these other people who have had success stories, or, it's testimonials. But when we make purchasing decisions, a lot of people want to see other people who have gone through it and who are doing well with it. And they want to see those success stories because they will kind of benchmark that, or I'll get to in a second, an anchoring, but they like to see that in order to make a decision. Scarcity, I think it works. I hate it. You go on any kind of travel site, Expedia, any of them, and you just see that there's like 1 seat left and 3 seats left on an airplane. And it's like, yeah. And then you get there and you go to pick your seat and there's 37 seats available. And it's a scarcity tactic because it works. That's the reason why it's on those sites, is because we believe that if you put a time restriction on something, or say that there's less of something, it does create urgency. And that urgency is totally necessary from a very complacent buying group. And you need to be able to do something in there. It's just that some people use it in an actual ethical way, and some people use it just to get you to spend money. Anchoring is that we make decisions off of benchmarks. So we have to evaluate our options. So like, think about review sites, and why it's so important to have companies like Proof and things that pop up to show other people who just made a purchasing decision, or they just bought this item. If you've ever been at a website and it shows that this person just bought a ticket here, or this person just bought tickets to a theater, and they just see more people buying things, it will allow others to go, okay, this must be good. This must be where I need to be, even though it's complete strangers. You don't know them at all. You don't know who they are, what they are, but for whatever reason, we like to see that, and that helps us to make a purchasing decision. So we have used human behavioral studies throughout marketing and helping people to make purchasing decisions, whether that's good or bad, through scarcity, priming, reciprocity, or anything. But I just want to give you this idea. We've been using this for a long time. So human behavior and benchmarking these things are not new, but how I want to talk about it is kind of a little bit different than this. So like I said, market, message, media. So let's go into what I mean by I want to be a little bit different. So market, when you start defining your market, everybody does this almost like they check a box. Like, no one truly gets into the molecular level, the DNA of their ideal customer. They don't spend enough time there, even though that's where you can get obsessive and get way past these demographics. Like, here's the deal. This is kind of me in a demographic way. I'm 37 years old. I'm a male. I'm a CEO. I'm racially ambiguous. My dad's black. My mom's Italian. So people think I'm Puerto Rican. I don't know. Maybe I like plantains. I just moved to London. I went to university. I'm a Christian on most days, just like the majority of the world. I'm married to a really patient, kind, unbelievable woman named Gina, and I've got 2 beautiful kids, Pearl and Florence, who just turned 6 and 4, and they are everything. So demographically, that is me. Now, can you write me a story and a message off of my demographics? Now, you might be able to. You probably look at this and be like, this guy probably likes golf. He probably has some pink stuff in his house. He's, you could probably write some things, but truly where decisions are made are on the humanistic level of psychographics. So psychographics are these things that aren't readily available in my demographics. So on this side, I've got my personalities, my likes, activities, and interests. Sorry about that. Let me go back through here. Oh, you just clicked too many times. But when you think about it, it's like my personality: outgoing, social, open, lifestyle. My team wrote these: extravagant, luxury, opulence, social, class is upper. But the real things are: I'm strong-willed, so psychographics: personality, outgoing, social, open, lifestyle, extravagant, class, upper, attitude, strong, liberal, inclusive, principles, be a kind, good person, love people, etc. But you can start to look at these and say, oh, interests: comedians, podcast, eating food. Like, these things are going to help you craft a message. But getting to a really, like I said, DNA level of your avatar is so important, because that helps you craft the message, the story. And humans love a good story, right? Like, we love stories so much. And I think that's really important because it comes out in everything we do, right? We all have our favorites. My favorite film of all time is Dead Poets Society, but not because of the way the movie was written, right? Not because Braveheart was a great movie. We actually loved the people in the movies, right? And that's really important because the story is part of it. What the measurement of a really great story is actually how people can insert themselves into it. And I think that's really great, because when you start thinking about these stories to your demographic and your psychographics and that human that you're trying to get to make decisions and be a part of what you're doing, they have to insert themselves into your story. And that's the best way to look at it. But the story is so important, because you can have a great story, you can have a great mission, you can start talking about what you solve and how you help people and all those things about your business that's so great. But the one thing that I think people miss out on is the fact that truly in the message, it's not about the story as much as it is the character. Like, we love great stories, but we really crave great characters in those stories, right? Those are the reasons why we fall in love with it. It truly is something that makes us latch on to that specific story. So just like your brand, you have to create a persona or a character within your brand that allows people to impose themselves on it, to latch onto it. Like in Dead Poet Society, for me, it was Mr. Keating. It was Robin Williams' part as a teacher, the rebel, the outsider, the guy who pushed the limits, the dead poet. Like, those people was what made it for me. I can quote the lines, the Carpe Diem, the Seize the Day, the pieces in that movie that I remember the most are because I anchored it with a character. And I think that what brands are missing, especially ones that want to engage human beings, is that they are missing the character inside the story to be able to get people to want to insert themselves into the story and then latch on to a character. And it's really interesting, because in my background in psychology and what I've been fascinated with over the last couple decades is looking at characters and building that in and thinking about how they're created. I know you're probably fascinated with it too, but there really only are 12 character archetypes. And you can look at these across the board. We can all start looking at strengths and weaknesses and who the mentor is versus the lover and the ruler and all these things. And you can start thinking about it in your own mind. Which one are you? And then you can start looking at like your family. You can look at your friend group. You can look at your team that you're working with right now. You can look at your company as a whole and start thinking about how people fit into these different archetypes. And you can start thinking about, like, the child, for instance, would be like I don't know, Alice in Wonderland. The creator would be like a Willy Wonka. There's so many different characters that we can throw into these archetypes. But what's really been the disadvantage and what makes a huge difference in a brand is when they create their own character. So like when plays are written, or when films are written, or when books are written, there is an exercise called a character diamond. It's what actually dictates how the character is written into the story and who they are and what they like, what they don't like, and how they interact with the world around them, their peers, the other characters, how the world sees them, how they see the world. These are all really important for anybody who's writing a really great story. So for you at home right now or at the event, you're starting to think about your brand. And you're starting to think about your brand being like, wow, I need to have a character within my brand. I need to know what my character is so it can act as a lens in which I communicate to the world. So if you put out content right now and you're writing blogs and you're doing videos, or your team's doing it, God forbid, and they don't have a lens in which they're supposed to look through and understand who their character diamond is and who the character in the story truly is that people can relate to and latch onto, there's probably disparate information out there. Like, I'll tell you the truth. Like, people say this all the time, like, email's dead. No, email's not dead. The people writing it might be, the message might be, but email's still the workhorse of business. In fact, if you don't have an email marketing strategy in 2021 where you're gathering in information from people and being able to nurture that list, then you're missing a massive opportunity. Besides the point, the phone isn't dead. The person connected to it might be. Your content out there isn't getting engagement, not because that platform's dead. It's because the content isn't hidden right. It's not good. It's not relevant to the people that you're supposed to be communicating with. This character diamond, based on what I just told you about stories being the real measurement of whether people can truly like great stories are them imposing themselves, pushing themselves into the story and latching on to a character within your brand. I mean, you have to have a character diamond. So let's do it. Let's build a character diamond now, or at least take the notes down and go back with your team and huddle up while you're at the conference and figure out what you think your character diamond is, and then use it as a benchmark and a checks and balances with your team so that you're putting out the right things and the world is seeing you in the right way with everything that you're doing in your business. But that creates engagement. So let's talk about it. The character diamond starts with your primary character trait. That's your superhuman power as a brand. In fact, it would be the thing that people talk about when you're not there. It would be the things that unanimously people say, if you said, hey, what's our superhuman power? And that superhuman power is what you're known for. It's the thing that puts you on the map, and people will revere you for it, and they'll think that you're amazing as a brand. The thing that you need, though, is a counter character trait. A counter character trait is the thing that balances us all out and makes it human. So if you look at it as like a vertical, this is all external. Internal is kind of like left to right, up and down is external. So the primary characteristic trait, everybody's got to know it, and you've got to know it. All your people in your business have to know it, but you also have to have a counter characteristic that's more of the balancing human side. So like if I was looking at Superman, right? Very easy one. Superman, superhuman, very easy, jumping over buildings, flying around, looking through, X-ray vision, lasers out of the eyes. His counter character trait was actually incredibly human. It was a little piece of rock called kryptonite, and every time that he was around it or touched it, I mean, he was human and not impervious anymore. And that was so important for us, because if Superman wasn't also kind of a nerdy guy who was shy named Clark Kent, what a terrible disguise, by the way. But if he wasn't those things and kryptonite didn't exist, we would hate Superman. We would hate Superman because we are not super. We cannot fly. We are not impervious. Therefore, Superman's not human and doesn't have any flaws. We have to think about a counter character trait and to our superpower that allows us to feel relatable. Like, I can't tell you what that is for your business, but it has to be something that would 1,000% be the most relatable thing. So like if you think about like Forrest Gump, for example, the movie, I know it was a long time ago, ages ago, but the actual film itself was about a guy who exceeded all these crazy expectations and did all these unbelievable things. But if he was a savant in that way, where he was just like unbelievable at everything that he did, and he always kind of, came out on top, even though like he obviously was a bit slow, but he's still like, you know what I mean? Like he came on top on every single thing that he did in life. His counter character trait was that he was a bit irreverent, socially awkward, inept, and he showed that by when he met the president of the United States, when he won football. He won American football in college. He was meeting the president, which is a crazy, unbelievable thing to do, but totally fit his primary character trait of like everything he touches turns to gold. But his irreverent side, like he had to pee and he ran off stage after he shook the president's hand. But that was a very relatable human moment that made us fall in love with that character, which is really interesting to think about. It's like, why do we like Forrest Gump? Well, we like Forrest Gump because he was not supposed to be that. He got picked on. He ended up doing all these unbelievably amazing things, and he still maintained his humanity in it, and was not impervious and with flaws, right? So that's important. The non-negotiable. Now, this is really important. So your non-negotiable is the hill that you're going to die on. It's so important because people will follow other people or brands if they know what they believe. It's so important. Like every character that's great knows what they believe. They're definitive in what they believe to be true. And as a brand, that is so important for you, because definitive brands might lose people. People might not want to have anything to do with them, but the fan base that they get, the consumer base that they get, are completely dedicated to the brand. I mean, they are bought out for the brand. They would do anything for the brand. They love this brand because the brand made it very clear what they stand for and what they believe. It is out there in the world. They know it. You can't miss it, right? And yes, you are not going to have all the friends in the world, but being lukewarm doesn't give you all the friends either. In fact, you have a shallow group of customers who kind of would go to your competitor at any minute because there's no allegiance there, because they have nothing to cling to. They don't know what you believe is what they believe. If they know what you believe is what they believe, they will follow you to the ends of the earth. And that's so important in the non-negotiable. Now, here's the balance to that star, is that quirk, mass, flaw, that not so secret sin that you're willing to share. Because if the non-negotiable is like Dave Ramsey in America is like zero credit cards. Credit cards are bad. Debt is dumb. You never want to do that. And it's all about cash and everything else. Now, if he came out one day and just said, one credit card is okay, I mean, he would lose his entirely faithful base of customers and fans because he's being lukewarm and not definitive. Now, his quirk, mask, flaw is very not so secret sin, is that he's a very Southern conservative Christian. And what's crazy about that is that always doesn't play out very well in our culture, but he's unapologetic for it. And I think that that also gives him a little bit of humanity with his base, and it allows him to be a bit forgivable because, you know, he can be the outspoken person there. I think this is all important because right now you use this character diamond as a way to be able to speak to your world. So if you have somebody who's speaking on behalf of your business or writing copy on behalf of your business, and the voice out there or the content that they're putting out there is let's say, just for example, is not Forrest Gump enough in terms of the character trait and the counter character trait, it can't go out. It can't. You want to see your engagement go down exponentially. You keep putting out stuff that doesn't actually fit your character diamond, and isn't a part of the story that you're actually trying to put out to the world. Like, this is how you write your story. You write it from the perspective of the character in which the brand is portraying. And when you do that, you'll see people that will just immediately resonate with the brand, become in love with the brand, and you're going to repel people that have nothing to do with the brand. And you're going to get a very big, huge, deep, rich customer base that you'll love and feel great about serving. So this is really good. This is one that I would do with your teams. This is one I would take back. I feel like this is well worth the time to slow down, to speed up in this case. And it's going to be really helpful. Now, the next thing here for the message, because I think that's really good to have the character, but the message that you want to tell people, the one that you want to put out in the world, is also really important. Now, remember, your product, solution, whatever you're selling, is so important to someone. That someone that you identified. It's the market. You've identified them. You've got them down to a T. You know their DNA. You know who they are. You know what they're not. You know their struggles. You know their pain points. Well, that's where they are before. Now think about it. After you intervene into their life with whatever you have, that is supposed to change them. They are not supposed to be the same person they were when they came in, but most people don't know what that is. That's why they're so sad. They're either sad because they literally know their need, they know their deficit, they know their pain, or their pain is just at the fact that they can't articulate the after. They don't know what the life looks like over there or in the future because they haven't spent any time actually looking at what that can be. Most people are in the present and the past. That's what they know. Present, past, right? So if you're the brand that tells the story of what that after state looks like, them on the other side of whatever they're trying to achieve, and they can see the after now because the story you told them about the after, and they can go over there and look at it, you've not only created value, you've got a fan. And when that person understands that by working with you or being or buying from you or whatever you have is going to get them to that promised after state, not where they're now, but where they can be, that is truly a mind-blowing experience for these people. It is where the value comes in, is when that story that you're telling of their potential future is so clear and so articulate that they get excited about the potential of that reality. And then they realize that you're the person, or you're the platform, or whatever your solution is the thing that's going to get them there. That's where true value is created. And how fast you get them from where they currently are to where they want to be is where all of the riches come in, and all the engagement, and all of the, you know, the lifelong customer who just wants to keep buying and doing things forever because you're the person who transformed their life. The power of a great message from any brand is a transformational one. It's being able to tell the story of their ideal avatar's current state, where they are, so you empathetically know where they are and who they are because you know them to a T, and where they could go. And you have to sometimes be able to articulate the after so specifically that they get excited about where they could go. And then when they get excited about where they could go, you show them how to get there through your product, service, or offerings, and how that will expedite from where they are to where they want to be. I hope you guys got all that. That is, I feel like we can stop right now. That is a lot. That is really good, but that is truly what great brands do in terms of their messaging. They're transformational in what they do. And they let people figure that out, and they know their own character, and they know their story so well that people can insert themselves into it and latch onto their character. Whew, this is good. This is good stuff. But this is truly the engagement. You'll never have to worry about it again. But here's some other things that are important. So you have to be able to get in front of people, because now you've got this really killer way of looking at who the people are and how to speak to them, and you know who you are and how they can insert themselves into the story, and you know what kind of story you're telling, you know where they are and where they want to be, and you understand how you're the conduit in between. So the message, how do we get it out to them? This is the hard part, because I think we've been talking to people for, I don't know, 20, 30 years the wrong way. You have to make it easy for them to connect with you. I'm gonna give you one tool, total bonus. This has nothing to do with what I'm about to teach you about talking to humans and how to be better at it, but you have to make it easier. So if you guys take out your phone right now and you open up your camera application, okay, and you point it at that, this should open up in just a second. Once you open it up, go ahead and do it. And what you will see is my face, my LinkedIn profile. That LinkedIn profile is how I've built a community for years now. And QR codes made a huge comeback in the pandemic, obviously, but all jokes aside, like, these are ways to be able to quickly allow people without any friction to get connected to you and get connected to your brand. This could go to your website. This could go to a landing page. This could go to anything that you want it to go to, obviously. And this should be everywhere. Like, I do courses. I have courses on LinkedIn Learning. There's 22 million students on there. I've got, I speak all the time all over the world, and I use this everywhere. I put it up on the screens. People take it through their TVs at home. They take it in the back of auditoriums where there's tens of thousands of people. It works all the time, and it's such a fast way to get people to get connected to you and to make sure they stay connected to you, which is great. You can get that, by the way, if you go into your LinkedIn app, your mobile app, and you go to the search bar and you click on that little thing that looks like a QR code, that'll bring up your LinkedIn QR code. You can download, share to your heart's content. And I suggest you do that because it's really great. Okay, so how we talk to humans needs to change. This is the reason why a lot of engagement falls off, even if you've got a really good idea of who your avatar is and a really good message, even taking the time to like build out a character in there and be definitive. Sometimes where it falls off after that is just the fact that we are writing messages that are completely out of the pattern of human behavior, of how we create intimacy and how we talk to other humans. And we skip so many steps that it's actually completely dissolving our potential relationship with a customer. So I wanted to talk about this. There's a book written by a zoologist named Desmond Morris. I saw a really good friend and mentor do a talk about this ages ago. His name is Ryan Dice. He's incredibly smart. Go follow him everywhere. He's brilliant marketer and business person. And there was a book where this guy Desmond was tasked with, as a zoologist, to look at us as an animal and figure out what are the stages of intimacy, right? From complete stranger to like knowing someone completely intimately, right? Like that's what this is. But there were 12 steps. And the reason why I think it's so important is because humans, in terms of how we interact with one another, he's saying doesn't change. These 12 things, these stages need to be followed. Now we know people that it could go a lot faster, right? Like we've seen people go through all 12 stages, but you can't skip steps. You have to go through them. So the 12 stages are eye to body, which is somebody looking at another person and somebody looking back at them. Voice to voice, like obviously, hey, hey, which is great. Or like, hey, hey. Hand to hand is a handshake or a high five if you're weird. Arm to shoulder, arm to waist. That's a hug. Now, I always laugh at this because my wife is like, I don't know if there's any first time when you meet me, do you hug me immediately? Because it seems like you're skipping steps. That's what my wife does. And you skip like 5 steps. That's in the animal kingdom, you probably would have been killed. All right. But seriously though, 7, it gets obviously more into mouth to mouth, hand to head, which is weird. Hand to head is like if somebody walked up to me and like put their hand on my face or like my head. So weird. Hand to body, mouth to body, hand to body, bow chicka wow wow time. Now, 12 steps from you're a complete stranger and I see you to most intimate we can really be as humans. And it took steps to get there. Now, the reason why that's so important is because Desmond Morris, who is a scientist, also said that if you skip steps 1 through 6, you skip some steps, you're fine. It's almost like dismissible in our human race. But if you skip anything from 7 to 12, it's assault. And what's crazy about this is that we have steps in business and the way that we talk to each other, and we don't even know that like human intimacy, just like business intimacy, is built in steps. And there are steps to create business intimacy as well, and this customer journey that you're having. Now, we've talked about it all day. We've talked about the awareness, which is highly like, hey, you need to know what ways you're getting in front of people to get their attention. You've got a split second to do it, and you need to get your ideal avatar out there with your awareness, whatever that is, to raise their hand and say, that's me. That's part of it, right? What we're saying people miss is that they typically don't do these next two things, and they go right to the fourth thing. We skip engagement. We skip people having the opportunity to engage with us. We don't typically put out enough social media content. We don't put out things where people not only become aware of us, but they can take another baby step and engage with us in some kind of meaningful way that allows them to go deeper with our brand. Seriously, that's really what it is. And look, no one's reading your blog. I'm sorry. If you're writing a weekly blog and you're not getting that much engagement, you're going about it wrong. Blogs are meant for evergreen content that meet people at the impasse of their questions. So like if your ideal avatar has a question, you should have a blog post about it that is absolutely written to answer that question. And that should be a static blog post on your page. That's how you get engagement, is when you're answering questions of your ideal avatar and you're meeting at the impasse of that question with an answer. So awareness engagement is what we've really been focusing on today, and less on the awareness side, other than just saying that you need to make sure that you have it, and way more on like the engagement side, because we miss it. And the third thing, which some people miss, I'm not going to say everybody here doesn't do this, but we should be always trying to get first name, last name, email address. First name, last name, email address should be everything we're trying to get, because after people engage with you, they go deeper with you, there should be an opportunity for them to take another baby step. Another baby step means I want to opt in for a newsletter. I want a free download. I want an ebook. And actually, no one wants an ebook, but they want something. They want a piece of content for free. They want to join your free community, whatever version of that is. They want some additional step after they actually get engaged, because the worst thing you want is to do all this work that I just talked about, get them to engage with you, and then what? You get a like on Facebook, you get a double tap on IG. That's not the goal. The goal is that you get them to engage enough that they subscribe, that take another step and give you some of their information, right? So if that whole dating scenario, this is when you would get the phone number, right? This is a perfect step in a trusted relationship. But many times what we've done is we go from awareness to convert. Like that is truly what I just explained in the human intimacy side of the equivalent of, hi, my name is Marcus, let's go back to my place. Like that is the creepiest thing you can do. So why do we do it in business? Why do we do it in our marketing messaging? We need to be able to get the awareness, get people to engage with us, which is our main goal today, get them to subscribe, take another step, and then give them an offer of something small. Like the convert stage can also be equally convert, right? Because it's people who give you two things, very valuable things, either time or a little bit of money. So if they're giving you a meeting here, that could absolutely be your convert stage. If they're giving you a little bit of money for like a consultation, or if they're giving you something for like a smaller, lower end, product or service, that's really important, because that is an opportunity for you to show them they're no longer a prospect. They're actually a customer at this point, regardless if they've given you $1 or 100,000, they're giving you something. And that's really important, because that changes them mentally into a customer. And that's so important. But what people miss is that they also go from that to thinking convert means like, oh, I need to get them to my core offer. No. There's another E. There's a missing step called the excite phase. The excite phase is being able to show them enough in that small conversion, whether time or money, that's so valuable that they get excited about the result, the immediacy of what you've shown them or what you've given them, where they're like, wow, this is really great. And then it gets to the ascend phase, where you give them your core offer. This is the thing that if everybody could buy this one thing from you, if everybody could buy this one thing, it would be unbelievable. But what do? We go from aware to typically this phase. We have one offer, usually. Oh, here's the one offer, and here's maybe an additional offer if they take the first offer. That's as far as we get. And we typically miss, because what we've been doing is not going through the other things. We're not getting people's information. We're not engaging with them. We're not giving them like an opportunity for time or a little bit of money to excite them enough to want to take the bigger thing that we truly want them to take. And that is the magic, because once they do that and they see that thing is so valuable, which it is, it's going to change their life and their business, then the next thing that they're going to do is they're going to become an advocate for you. These are the people that give us testimonials. These are the people that truly are like, wow, this was really a great experience. And then if those people had a great experience like that, and they've bought everything you've got, and they just feel like they want to, like you've done it all, then they truly become, which is the end goal, which is a promoter. They become a promoter for your business. And if you get enough promoters, you never have to worry about this paid media game again. Like on this awareness side, these people are going to be pulling customers right and left into your business. But look, that's step 8. That's step 8. What did we talk about today? We talked about a little bit of awareness. We talked a ton about engagement and the message and everything else. And now what I'm trying to show you is how that fits into the bigger plan for you and what you're going to do in 2022. Because if you could go through and audit your business right now and go, okay, what do we do for awareness, engagement, subscription? What do we do to convert people on the smaller side? What's the way that we excite and wow them? What is the thing that our core offer? What are we ascending them through? What's our product suite through there? What are we doing to get testimonials? What are we doing with those testimonials? How are we creating advocates? How are we getting into maybe a referral program to have them out there in the world promoting our business and bringing more customers like them who are amazing and our favorites into our business? Like that. That's the plan. That's it. So anyway, I feel like I'm going on and on, but this is what I'm so excited about. This is what's been working for us, and it's really comes down to some simple things that don't change: market, message, media. But the biggest thing that doesn't change is that overlay of human behavior. And if you become obsessive about human behavior, if we just become obsessive about humans in general again, when we used to have front porches and we used to go talk to each other and we weren't running into each other on the street because we're looking at our phone, and those moments of looking up over our mobiles is so important for your business, so important for your marketing, and even more important for getting people to engage with you for the foreseeable future. I am so thrilled that you would take any time to come and listen to me talk, but I hope that you got something out of it. I know there's some Q&A, and I'm just thrilled that you spent a little time with me today. So looking forward to get connected with you, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them, and I hope you have an incredible IBTM. Thanks a lot.
Hello, Marcus. Hi from IBTM. The audience would like to just give you a big wave to say hello, because he can see you and we can see you here.
Yeah. Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
hi, everyone.
So thank you so much for pre-recording the session and allowing people to actually view it before doing the Q&A. We've had lots of note taking and scribbling down of notes during your presentation. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question? If you do, the microphone is in the middle, and if you want to face the camera, because obviously we're recording this, then please do stand up and ask a question.
I will say this before we get started. The fact that you sat through a pre-recorded session this long is a bravo moment. I don't know that I would have done it. I probably would have been on my phone half the time and would have tried to go somewhere. But thank you for staying. I hope you learned something. And also, it's going to be a very brave soul who walks up to that microphone. If anybody wants to sit in their seat, maybe they can walk around with a microphone. I'm not sure. But I definitely would love to answer any questions that you have. And thank you so much for taking some time to sit in here and watch that session today.
If nobody wants to stand up, I can bring the microphone to you. Okay, I'm on my way.
Round of applause for the runner of the microphone. Nobody? Just me.
Where's the camera? Hey, Marcus.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm Adam. You were just chatting on LinkedIn, right?
Yes. Hey, Adam, how are you? That's good.
I just want to prove how live this is. And I've got to try and remember my own question, so forgive me. I was on Slido trying to do that. So, my question to you, Marcus, was how do brands and companies stay relative based on the messages they deploy with people's fluctuating priorities, especially with the pandemic? Over there. See, I haven't done TV for a while. Yeah, is this a form of empathy marketing that we're yet to look at and describe in the event world?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because on the event side of things, I had an event called Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is one I've been a part of for years, and there's about 10,000 people that come to that. And this year was the first time that we got to go back. And what we were trying to do was think about ways in which we could empathetically understand people's thoughts. Like when I talked about human behavior in that talk, I was really trying to get to the idea of like being able to predict people's moves before they make moves. And a lot of that comes down to, well, what do humans traditionally do? Then you layer on top the pandemic, then you layer on top of, things that might not necessarily be traditional human characteristics, but you can always root it. And so I think empathy is like you said, it's the thing that we can do all the time by trying to figure out how people are feeling. And right now people are feeling afraid. People are feeling anxious. People are also feeling, I mean, half the room in here, if I said, hey, who's been afraid during the pandemic, like all of our freaking hands go up, right? I've been afraid, but I'm also feeling incredibly optimistic as well. Like I'm excited to get back. Look, we're in a room right now. Like I was sitting in my room for about 18 months like this in a screen. And I'm completely gutted that I didn't get the opportunity to get there in the room with you. And I think that a lot of people are trying to think about ways that they can get back safely. I think a lot of them are ready to see each other because I do believe that humans want to be connected. Like I absolutely 1000% think that we are made for human connection. And by the way, can you raise your hand if you're an introvert in the room? That's a trick question because you're an introvert, you're not raising your hand. But truly, I think even introverts, being married to one, like to be around people but away. And they can do that and retreat and recharge. But I think it's really just, like I said before, paying attention, understanding what people are thinking, layer on the variable of what's going on, but try to root it in things that we know to be true about human beings, and then try from that point and that perspective to be empathetic and think ahead of what people are expecting or how they're feeling, and be able to adapt to that. I hope that answered your question. Lovely.
Any more questions? No, I don't think so. Marcus, thank you so much for coming in and doing the live. Sorry you couldn't be here in Barcelona. But thank you for the presentation.